Steelers have all 3 timeouts remaining. The ball has been spotted at the 3-yard line. Rodgers turns, throws, slant, right, touchdown, Pittsburgh Steelers. It's DK Metcalf from 3 yards out.
You marched expeditiously down the field, and you kept putting the pressure on the Green Bay Packers.
3rd and 4, ball at the 24-yard line of the Packers. And Love raises the foot. Man in motion is Watson right to left. 2 receivers now on each side. Love gets a snap, wants to throw, back to pass, crossing pattern, middle of the field. It's Kraft. Kraft racing towards the end zone and gets in for a Green Bay Packers touchdown. Wow, a 28-point second half for the Green Bay Packers.
It is, and that's a very tough hole to climb out of. If you're wanting Aaron Rodgers magic, this is where you got to pull the rabbit out of the hat.
Rodgers gets a snap, back to pass, looking, pumping, trying to direct traffic, and throws towards the back of the end zone. Caught by Roman Wilson. No, he didn't come down with it, and they're going to say incomplete. Yeah, okay, there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so we do know what a catch still is.
I mean,
my goodness. I was like, how many feet does he need now?
So Roman Wilson gets his first career touchdown. Congratulations to Roman. And the Packers will have the ball with 2:06 remaining, and now the end is pretty much academic. And that is the end of the game with the final score, the Packers 35, the Steelers 25.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. Heading into the Steelers' first Sunday night football game of the season, the major headline was Aaron Rodgers against Jordan Love. But by the time the second half rolled around, the biggest topic was Packers tight end Tucker Kraft. For more on how the Steelers went from winning 3 games in a row to losing the next 2, let's welcome in Bob Pompeani, who's standing by with Coach Tomlin. Bob.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Steelers trying to get back on track this week. They take on the Indianapolis Colts. We'll get into that in a minute, but right now head coach Mike Tomlin is here. Coach, kind of a tale of 2 halves this last one. You're up 16-7, had things going your way, although I felt maybe there were more points out there that you left in that first half. What happened that you didn't get more points in those situations?
You know, I certainly agree with you. At halftime, it felt like, we were in control of the game, but there were some signs there that concern you. When you're playing good people, you got to score touchdowns. We settled for some field goals, and so we didn't maximize the ebb that we had in the first half. And usually it's a couple of things. We got in scoring territory, got a couple penalties. It put us behind the chains, and we didn't perform well on 2nd and long when we were behind the chains. It produced 3rd and long, and thus we settled for some field goals.
And that's the product of having 1 for 10 on 3rd down, because they were 3rd and manageable, became 3rd and 8 to 3rd to 13. And anytime you're in that, I don't know how you dig out from it.
Yeah, nobody performs very well at 3rd and 10 plus, globally speaking. And we've done a really good job of staying out of those circumstances. That's why we've been solid as a 3rd down conversion group. But Sunday night, we certainly were not. We were certainly in more 3rd and longs than usual, and that we're comfortable with, and it produced the statistics that you mentioned.
The first half, the run game was on pace to have a really big night. They're 5.1 yard per carry average. Then in the second half, that changed. Why did it change?
I think a couple things. They started converting 3rd downs and possessing the ball on us. They were not settling for field goals. As I mentioned, we got behind the sticks. We got sacked on a possession and 10, trying to go down the field, and played the rest of the possession behind the sticks. We had a penalty on 1 possession. And so, when they're possessing the ball and you're not, due to a couple basic mishaps, it just changes the texture of how the game is unfolding. We were playing from behind at that juncture, and we weren't able to maximize what we felt like was an advantage for us. Running the ball up front.
One positive thing on offense, Roman Wilson was more involved, made a couple of plays, including a touchdown pass at the end. I realized at the time it was maybe insignificant, but does that speak to him getting more opportunities?
I think Roman has had an upward trajectory all season. It doesn't necessarily manifest itself in terms of statistics or or things that you see in stadium. But if you're in our group, if you're working every day, you see how diligent he's working. He certainly has talent. He's gaining the necessary experience to be a consistent positive contributor to our efforts. I think it's reasonable to expect that to continue.
Defensively, you guys pride yourself on takeaways and also quarterback sacks. And in the last couple of games, there haven't been there. Talk about why. You blitzed more, it seemed, this game, and you didn't get to the quarterback. And I guess if you blitz and don't get there, that's a problem.
Yeah, in the first half, it wasn't a problem because those passes were falling incomplete and so forth, and we're getting the type of pressure that we desire. We were getting them off the spot. I thought there were two significant third downs in the third quarter that changed the texture of the game, and really they were beyond conversions. They were field-flipping plays, signature plays, and scoring drives. One was a 59-yarder on third down that flipped the field and set up a score. Then I think the next drive was a 33-yarder on 3rd and 7. And you can't give up 100 yards on 2 third down plays and not expect that to change the texture of the game. It did. And so we got some work ahead of us in terms of minimizing that component of play. And as you mentioned, it all works together. When you're putting pressure on the quarterback, you minimize offensive chunks. You get the turnovers that have been a signature of our play. And certainly we got to get back to that business this week.
Tucker Kraft had a big game, but in an unusual way. There were more yak yards from a tight end as opposed to actual air yards. How difficult is that to change? I know there was tackling issues. Is that going to be part of this week's practice?
It certainly is, but it always is. And so I'm not going to pretend to be reactionary in my mindset. Tackling is a major component of playing really good defense. We didn't play really good defense last Sunday night, and I think it was displayed by our lack of takeaways and some of the yards after catch that you mentioned. Taking nothing away from Tucker, we knew he was elite in terms of yards after catch. He has been since he's been in the league, but certainly Sunday night was not something that we want to make a regular routine of.
The thing about this first half, you really did a good job on Josh Jacobs. As I said, the score indicated a 9-point lead. It could have been more, but he did not have a factor. The second half, they went to both guys a little bit. Was it just because of the fact that they were having success on those third downs?
Yeah, they got more snap opportunities. When you convert third downs, you get more snap opportunities, but certainly in the initial stages of the game, minimizing Jacobs had our attention, and as the game unfolded, minimizing some things going on in the passing game had our attention. And they were able to get a little bit here and a little bit there, but largely I was comfortable with our ability to control the line of scrimmage, Jacobs in the running game.
All right, Coach, Steelers still in first place in the AFC North at 4-3. They'll try to make it 5-3 this week. The number one scoring offense in the league comes to town. That's the Indianapolis Colts. We'll talk about them when we come back. Missy, back over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Yes, the Colts are on a 4-game winning streak, and they're sitting at top of the AFC with a 7-1 record. Steelers players have voted for the team's 2025 Ed Block Courage Award winner, and it's Cole Holcomb, who battled back from a severe knee injury. Holcomb's 2023 season was cut early, and he also missed the 2024 season as well. Holcomb will receive the award at a luncheon later this month. We'll be right back when the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show continues.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
In the Steelers' last 2 games, they had a lead in both of them at halftime. Unfortunately, they quickly evaporated, marking the team's first back-to-back losses of the season. And for more on how Pittsburgh's defense will be missing a key player on Sunday, let's send it back to Bob and Coach. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Colts come to town. They are 7-1 and playing very well right now. They got a point differential of plus 166. And, Coach, we talked about that play with Kraft last week. On that play, Deshaun Elliott got injured, as it turned out. Now, his absence, what do you do to try to help that secondary, especially against a team like this?
It's going to be a multi-person job, to be quite honest with you. Deshaun has been a significant component of what we do, not only this year, but last year as well. He's rock solid as a down safety versus the run. He's been really good at tight end coverage, and so we certainly got some adjustments ahead of us this week to minimize his absence. But usually when you're missing a guy like that, it's not one man, it's multiple people, and I think you'll feel that this week. when you watch us play, how we'll divvy his workload up among several candidates.
Jonathan Taylor is doing Jonathan Taylor stuff. I mean, he's been almost unstoppable. I think 1,000 scrimmage yards, already 14 touchdowns. He's on his way to an Offensive Player of the Year. I know that's a primary concern for you. How do you slow him down a little bit?
You know, down in and down out. It takes an all-day commitment because he's a home run hitter. You can feel comfortable with your ability to minimize him, but anytime he touches the ball, he has a chance to take it to the house like he did last week, I think, for 80 yards as an example of that. He has great stop-start ability. He has great burst, short area burst. His top-end speed is excellent, and that's why he's able to produce big plays. And so when you're facing a back like that, forget the attrition component of it. Anytime the ball snaps, he can go the distance. And so you got to be good at reducing the amount of space you play in. You got to set good edges. You got to do a good job of filling gaps. And so we are familiar with competing against him. We played against him some in recent years and felt comfortable with at least our ability to control him some last year. But this year's a new year. He appears to be doing really good. The presence of Daniel Jones and what's going on in the passing game has been an asset to his game as well.
Yeah, we talk a lot about in this NFL second chance quarterbacks. We've seen it with guys like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, even Geno Smith when he went through that. This is a guy who seems to be on that path too, Daniel Jones, a second chance. What's the difference in his game that you may see when he was with New York?
You know, I think that it's becoming, so commonplace that it's almost the norm. I think there's a lot of pressure placed upon young quarterbacks that get drafted extremely high. Usually they get drafted extremely high because of team issues. And so there's a lot of unique pressure that comes with a young quarterback that's drafted high. Oftentimes it doesn't necessarily lead to success. But if they're mentally strong, I think that their talents eventually show. And sometimes a change of setting is all you need for that to be revealed. And I just think he's the latest guy to display that. And there have been a lot of guys in recent years that have displayed that. But I think what he's doing is he's doing a really nice job of taking care of the ball and making good decisions. They've got an established receiving corps that's been together for a number of years now. You add in the dynamic young tight end from Penn State. We've been talking about the running game. And so it was just plug and play in terms of a quarterback. And it was a really good setup for him. And, probably outside of Saquon, he didn't have any of that when he was drafted into the Giants circumstances. And so we certainly are working diligently to prepare ourselves for him. We respect his talents. We respect his talents when we played against him when he was with the Giants. But more than anything, you're looking at a guy, man, that's taking advantage of a really, really stable environment and good offensive unit.
As you said, they have some great eligibles, too. They have Alec Pierce, he goes deep. Pittman Jr. made a tremendous catch last week. So that offense is going to be tough, but their defense also has been very good. I think they're third in the league in quarterback hits. They get to it. They 10 interceptions. So that's a whole different dynamic there. So putting them together, I imagine, is why the reason they're 7-1.
Yeah, and some of the turnovers are coming from game circumstances. As you mentioned, the point differential. They've been up on a lot of their opponents. They've played Tennessee twice, Miami, and some people like that who've been struggling. And once you get one-dimensional, bad usually turns into worse. And so that's why they've produced a number of turnovers. You get one-dimensional versus this front with Buckner and Stewart and company, you're going to have issues. And so how the games have unfolded has really highlighted some of the things that they do and do well. Can't say enough about Lou, their defensive coordinator. We've competed against him over the years, man. He's a veteran coordinator, did a heck of a job largely over his time in Cincinnati. And so there's a texture, there's a relationship there, familiarity on our part, familiarity on his part, that should make the game very competitive and interesting.
So maybe a change of scenery is good for not just players but coaches. He's been there and he's made a big difference to that.
No question, no question.
Right. Coach, thanks. Appreciate that. When we come back, it's going to be the keys to this game, Colts and Steelers. You'll see it at 1 o'clock on KDK TV this coming Sunday. Back in a flash. Missy, back to you.
All right, looking forward to that, guys. Well, Indy has scored 270 points this season through 8 games. That's first in the league with 33.8 points per game. And for Pittsburgh to keep them out of the end zone, it will require a plan to slow down the NFL's leading rusher in Jonathan Taylor. Merrill Hodge breaks down his film in this week's Playbook, coming up next.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Well, you can show off your black and gold knowledge with Immaculate Prediction, the Steelers predictive game that gives you a chance to win some great prizes. Here's one of this week's questions. Will Peyton Wilson or Jalen Ramsey have more solo tackles against the Colts? Just head to the Steelers mobile app now to compete for this week's first place prize, a football autographed by Hall of Famer Troy Polamalu. Good luck. Well, the Colts' high-powered offense is no joke, and running back Jonathan Taylor is a major reason why. Not only does he lead the NFL in rushing yards and touchdowns through 8 games so far this season, he also has 3 or more TDs in 4 of those games. Merrill Hodge is here with this week's Playbook for more on what makes him so dangerous.
Welcome everyone into the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the Playbook, presented by Microsoft Copilot. Now, the Indianapolis Colts are a really good football team. The one area that really makes them, I think, special is they've got a really good running game. But what does that mean? Here's why they got a good running game. Yes, they got a good runner. Their offensive line's very good. But they have a variety of runs that you got to defend. They're going to attack inside. They're going to attack outside. They're going to make a look inside, then get to the outside. So it's a lot to handle. So let's first start. And this is a pretty simple play, but it shows you how special the runner is. Taylor, they do a great job here. This is just an inside zone. So as we snap the ball, I want you to watch how he attacks the line of scrimmage. As he attacks the line of scrimmage, what we call this is pressing the hole. When you press the line of scrimmage, look what it does. Both safeties are coming inside. All the defenders are looking inside. And that helps the blockers. They seal those guys inside because Taylor is just so good that he's dynamic laterally too. So he can bounce it to the outside. So he presses that hole, he bounces it to the outside. And so he's kind of the creator of this run. You got a 3 or 4 yard run that ends up being, well over 10 yards. Now they play on the perimeter as well. As we snap the ball here, we'll stop it here. The misdirection kind of freezes the box. They've done 2 things that are really effective here. They free up the tight end and an offensive lineman to get out on the perimeter. Well, that's big time if you can get 2 guys out there that are clean, and then both of them are clean. Now you pitch it to Taylor, and now you have people accounted for defenders, which they do here. And so that puts the burden on the deep safety. He has to make the tackle. Now he ends up making the tackle here, but that's a big time run. You take 10, 15 yards every time you touch the ball. Now when they get in scoring territory, they're going to make this look like it's an inside run initially. You're going to see how they attack inside, but again, it's going to be to the perimeter to the right. So as you snap the ball, another thing they do very well that they have done in the play we just watched is they free up an offensive lineman. They get him free to the outside so he doesn't get caught up. And this is kind of like a sweep play or a ride play where you bounce it. You sell it inside, but you get to the perimeter. Now as we roll it, you got an offensive lineman on a DB. That's a mismatch. So you're going to have to catch him from behind, which they eventually do, or it would have been a touchdown. But it is a lot to handle. And the reason that is so important that you do handle this, because when they run the football, that means they can throw it with ease. So defending this run and holding that, keeping that in bay will help them defend the passing game as well.
And make sure you catch all of Merrill's playbooks on the team's official YouTube page. Well, it's no surprise why the Colts are 7-1. They're the only team in the league to score 20-plus points in all of their games so far this season. Indy has won the past 2 meetings with the black and gold, but the Steelers have held them winless here in Pittsburgh since 2008. For more on what we can expect on Sunday, it's time for the keys to the game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Let's send it back one final time to Bob and Coach. Guys.
Missy, thank you. This is a big matchup. Steelers at home against, right now, the best team in the NFL. The Colts are 7-1. So, pick your poison here, Coach. There are a lot of keys to this game. What are the biggest ones for you?
For us, man, it's good being in an environment versus a really good team. The challenges are never ending in the National Football League. We're certainly coming off a couple performances that we don't like, but this is the correct medicine. This is a competitor's game in a competitor's league. And so I'm excited about pitting our talents versus theirs. I think one of the key telling components of the game is how we respond to adversity. However the adversity presents itself. How does the defense support the offense if we turn the ball over? How does the offense support the defense on a subsequent drive if Indy's offense drives and scores? I think that's a major component of the texture of this game. We got a smile in the face of it. Everyone does, but particularly when you're playing good people and coming off some of the challenges that we are, how we respond to negativity is going to be a major component to this game.
Daniel Jones has been very good. You've had different approaches to different quarterbacks. What's the best approach to him? Is he, if you get after him in a blitz, is that beneficial to you?
It really depends on, how their run game is going, to be honest with you. When their run game is rolling and on schedule, they minimize his exposure to the defense. They change the launch point. They run quick game and things of that nature. And so I think a real catalyst in terms of how you attack Daniel Jones is first and foremost working to minimize Jonathan Taylor. Because when he's rolling, they're rolling. When he's rolling, they don't punt. I mean, they've got some ridiculous statistic in terms of the least amount of punts at this juncture, I think, in the point of a season. And so it's the collective. And certainly Daniel Jones is a significant component of the collective, but it starts first and foremost with their ability to remain on schedule, control the climate behind Big Nelson up front and their top quality runner in Taylor.
Coach, thanks. All the best this coming Sunday. That's going to do it for our Mike Tomlin Show presented by 84 Lumber. For head coach Mike Tomlin and Missy Matthews, I'm Bob Pompeani. Remember the kickoff at 1 o'clock. We also have pregame beginning at 11:30 a.m. on KDKA. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.